Right, hello Year 2, it's Mr. Lavelle here. So we're going to start reading the very first chapter from the book The Girl Who Thought She Was a Dog by Claire Balding. I'll try and hold the pages so that you can follow the words as I read. Chapter 1, A New Arrival. They say that all dogs are born with different personalities. Terriers love to dig and will often go missing for hours, disappearing down a tunnel after the faintest glimpse of a rabbit's tail. Greyhounds like to run in short, sharp bursts and then happily sleep on the sofa for the rest of the day. Dalmatians were bred as carriage dogs, and they love to trot alongside a horse or a jogger. With their funny faces and daft behaviour, boxers give the impression of being the jokers of the pack, but they're serious about one thing: boxers are born to protect. So when Twiglet, the boxer's owner Rosie, brought home an unfamiliar basket one day, he was immediately on his guard. Something inside was making a tremendous noise. Twiglet walked warily around the small basket, sniffing cautiously. Finally he peered inside, and there it was. A tiny human puppy, its face as wrinkled as a prune, screeching like a cat on the attack. He drew back his head in shock. "It's all right, Twiglet," said Rosie, bending down to stroke his head. "She's only a baby. She won't bite." Twiglet wasn't so sure. He nervously took a second look. As he did, the baby stopped crying, reached out a tiny hand and grabbed his ear. Twiglet yelped. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry," said Rosie, gently prying the baby's fingers apart to release Twiglet's ear. "She didn't mean to hurt you." Thought Twiglet, she doesn't know her own strength. Rosie carried the basket into the sitting room and sank down into the sofa. Twiglet jumped up beside her and nestled into her chest, just as he had done every night for the past 2 years. He thought she looked exhausted. "We're in this for the long haul, Twiglet," Rosie sighed, closing her eyes. "It's up to you and me to teach this little lady about life." Twiglet cocked his ear. Now that was something he could do. Lead the baby in the right direction. Show her how to smell good and bad people, how to play fetch, how to chase a squirrel, and how to swallow a whole bowl of food without chewing. Oh yes, he would be an excellent teacher. "What do you think of the name Fennel?" Twiglet put his head on one side as he looked up at Rosie. He knew Doris the Dachshund, Betty the Cockapoo, and Jess the Great Dane. He'd met a William and a Colin and a Dougal, but he'd never met a Fennel. "For the baby, I don't want her to have the same name as all the other girls. She needs to stand out. She's special." Rosie smiled lovingly at the baby, peacefully asleep in her basket. Twiglet thought it was good to see Rosie happy again, even if she did look tired. The baby gurgled contentedly in her sleep, and Twiglet wagged his tail. "Good," said Rosie. "Then Fennel it is." Later that night, baby Fennel started to cry again. Before she could wake Rosie, Twiglet padded over to Fennel's basket. The baby reached up and, this time, Twiglet didn't shy away, letting her touch his ear and the soft skin round his mouth. Her cries settled down to soft whimpers, and eventually she fell back to sleep. With his keen boxer instincts, Twiglet quickly became Fennel's guardian. The first time Rosie took Fennel for a walk round the park, he even growled at Betty the Cockapoo because she bounded up too fast. He told the other dogs to be gentle with her and stuck to Fennel's side the whole morning, only leaving her to quickly do his business under a bush. When they got back to the house, he sniffed Fennel all over to check she was in tip-top condition. She gurgled happily, snuffling at his fur. Rosie looked on fondly, and Twiglet could tell she was glad that the two of them were such fast friends. Twiglet didn't like it when strange humans came too close to Fennel's basket, and liked it even less when they picked her up and made stupid cooing noises in her face. They don't even let her sniff them first, and that's just rude, he thought to himself. Twiglet, don't growl, said Rosie. You know, Grandma, she's not going to do Fennel any harm. Twiglet did know Grandma, so he stopped growling, but he kept his eyes on her as she sat Fennel on her lap. He lay down at Grandma's feet and pretended to go to sleep. He didn't really, of course. He just closed his eyes and let his ears move left and right, listening out for any dangerous noises. He's very protective, said Rosie. Even when we go for a walk, he won't leave Fennel's side. Lord knows what he'll be like when I start taking her to baby groups. He'll probably try to come too. What about when you go back to work, dear? What's your plan then? Asked Grandma. Well, you know I can't afford childcare or a nanny. Twiglet heard a pleading note enter Rosie's voice. I was hoping you might be able to help me out. And get to spend even more time with Twiglet too? Grandma gave a delighted laugh and clapped her hands together. I'd love to, and I'm sure your brother would be happy to offer his services as well. Twiglet knew well that Fennel's Uncle James and his partner Matt were great fun. They always brought him a bone whenever they came to visit, so he relaxed a little, knowing that he and Fennel would be in good hands. Okay, that's the end of chapter 1. We'll read chapter 2, first words, tomorrow. See you then.